Hi, today I want to talk about losing friends in midlife. So, particularly in your 50s, not just any friend, but a best friend. Also, my story that I'm going to be talking about is about betrayal in the worst way. Well, in my eyes, anyways. So, if you've been betrayed by a really close friend, a friend that you've known for 20 plus years, let's say, just comment down below. I would love to hear your story as well. My friendship with this person, I'm going to call her Julie, that after 25 years of helping her through a really turbulent time in her marriage was always turbulent. Now, I'm divorced. And, I went ahead, got divorced. My relationship wasn't perfect either, but hers was. Her husband consistently cheating on her with many women. He was emotionally abusive to her. When they split up one time, he financially abused her as well. So I'm just giving you a little bit of a background because over the years, I was very supportive of her. So every day we would speak for, hours sometimes. She'd call me 3 times a day. And I'm not saying she hadn't helped me at some points. She was also supportive of me. I felt that our friendship was going to be lifelong. But it turned out I really didn't know her the way I thought I knew her. Now, life changes, major life events, moving, marriages, career shifts can cause distance in any friendship. But in this case, it wasn't anything but betrayal. So it was a breach of trust. And it was really hard to find out what she did after a time. And I'm just going to get into my story. But this video is also about creating boundaries and understanding red flags and how to deal with red flags when it comes up in a friendship. We often let things go because that's your good friend, right? They've been around forever. You make excuses in your head when they're toxic or they have manipulative behavior, or there's a lot of gossiping, which is really unhealthy. All of these things can lead to resentment and ultimately cause friendships to dissolve. So in our case, we had been friends for, I'm going to say 25 years easily. And we became better friends. We had met at work. And then later we both got married. We both became moms. And the funny thing is we both had children with special needs. So we really ended up connecting quite a bit after we weren't working together. So the years went on and we spoke 3 times a day. We went out often. I invited her to my place. I went over to her place. Although I'm going to say, looking back, I think I was lying to myself. I would invite her out with some other friends that I had, but I didn't really get that back from her. So we would go out, but she wouldn't really involve me in other friend groups, let's say, okay? So we're moving along this way for many years, and she goes through a separation. I'm very supportive of her. I continue to be her friend. I continue to talk to her, take her out when needed, just always there. I found that she was losing friends. She had a very close cousin, and she ended up telling me a story about how, there was a falling out there. And although I sort of agreed with the other person in the story, I was making excuses for my friend. And I think we do this along the way again, because 20 years, you don't want to think they are anything but good people, I suppose. And even sometimes when I did try to talk to her about certain aspects of her personality and sort of what she was doing in life, especially in her marriage, that it was so turbulent. I mean, her husband cheated on her probably weekly. with many different women. It came to a head and he ended up leaving, and then he did return. So I was there for all of it. I was there for when she was at her lowest. So what she did to me in later years, that was even more shocking because I had always been there for her. So I start dating someone, and we ended up dating for about 4 years. He's passed away since. He was younger than me, really good guy. We had our problems though, so I ended up leaving the relationship. But I did think that maybe perhaps we would get together again and resolve our issues. Our issues weren't based around probably the regular sort of issues, but that's for another video. So this particular friend that I'll call Julie, she and I had a falling out, but we didn't have an argument. I just decided that over the years I'd become her therapist, and I'm not a professional therapist. I felt that it wasn't just us exchanging stories and being supportive. I realized at this point that she was not going to leave her marriage that was just causing her health issues and mental health issues, you name it. She was already dealing with raising special needs children. So moving forward, I decided that it was taking a toll on my mental health, and I had to create boundaries that I hadn't had in place in many, many years. And I had to stop making excuses for who she was and for who I was as well. And I wanted something different. So I decided that to meet up for coffee. She had told me at this point that she was allowing her husband to come back in the house. This is the second time they had split up and he moved out of the house. He had had an affair for a good 2 years, and she forgave him. And again, that's up to her. I didn't really want any part of it because I knew at that point that she wasn't really looking for help. She just wanted a sounding board, and it was taking a toll on me. So at that point, we had a coffee, and I left, and she really looked like a shell of her former self. And although I felt bad, I knew I had to also just put the line in the sand. And if she had no intention of doing anything about it, there was really nothing that I could do either. So I was still in my relationship. And then I'm going to say a few months later, that relationship ended. And when it did, I had no idea of what was to come. And that I found out a year later about this friend that, again, I'll call Julie. I really couldn't believe the role she played in just really betraying me. So here goes the story. Julie and I are not really speaking. She sends me messages, but I don't really reply because I just don't want to be sucked into that void of speaking and talking about her endless problems in her marriage and knowing full well she wasn't going to do anything about it. So my relationship with my boyfriend at the time ends, and I just go on living, and I don't know what's going on. So I'm going to speed up to when I did find out what was going on. I was just living my life for about a year, and I was not dating. When I found out that he was ill, it was through another friend, and I had someone else call him to verify, just ask, what exactly is happening, because he had blocked me on social media. He wasn't taking my calls. So when this friend of mine called him, he told her that he had stage 4 cancer. So this is 4 months now before he passes. 8 months had gone by that him and I were not together. So he tells her that, and she tells him, "Can you call me?" And he said no, that he wouldn't call me because I was cheating on him the entire time, and this is why I ended the relationship. So my friend said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about. That never." Okay, so here we go regarding the actual story. So I was in a 4-year relationship. She got to know my boyfriend very well. I'm going to call him Larry. And so Julie and Larry were friends. And when I ended my friendship with Julie, and again, there was no argument, anything like that. She still tried to reach out to me. I just put her off more or less because I was tired of being her unpaid therapist. And I really just felt she was bringing me down. And this is something I like to talk about, is boundaries when it comes to friendships. We can't just keep excusing people because they are our friends or have been our friends for 20 years or whatever. Sometimes these people are the worst people to remain in our lives, and we're better off without them. Although it can be painful, and it was for me as well. But I realize now, 4 years later, 5 years later, that I'm better off without her. So the story goes that Julie and Larry remained friends. There was nothing romantic going on. It was nothing like that. She was someone that needed to be validated, and that would be fine if that's where it ended. But what I ended up finding out later was that someone had started a rumor about me having this long-term affair, and this is the real reason I ended the relationship. Nothing is farther from the truth than that. And now I don't think it was her that started the rumors. I do believe it was his best friend, who was another female. And this person who I'm calling Julie, who was my friend for a number of years, she kept in touch with him. And what I found out later was she just fueled the fire. So instead of saying, no, I know her, she wouldn't do that to you, she really cared about you, why don't you reach out to her, you're ill, she'd want to hear from you, she kept it to herself for a long time. She thought I had no idea what was happening, but I did, because again, people contact you. I have other friends, I have other acquaintances, and they said, hey, Larry's not doing well. I was shocked because this is a person that was extremely healthy. He had a lot going on for himself. And again, he was younger than me. That's the last thing I would expect. I thought maybe he would be with someone, or maybe that would be what he's doing in this life. But anyhow, I find out he's dying of stage 4 cancer, and that my good friend couldn't even drop me a line. So she didn't just not drop me a line to say, hey, I know we're not talking, but I know how much you cared about him. I just want to let you know that he's not doing well. You may want to get in touch with him. But instead, she kept it to herself. Luckily, someone else reached out to me, so I was aware of his condition. And so at the time, you got to remember, I don't know that this is happening. And time moves on. I find out in August. I reach out to him in many different ways. I'm blocked everywhere. I send letters in the mail. I send a birthday present. I'm reaching out to people he knows. Now half of social media thinks I was cheating on him, so they're not really talking to me. I find out later, so now he ends up passing away 4 months after I found out. So here's the kicker. Again, I don't understand how, I don't know that my friend's involved. I know his friend is involved, that she started the rumors, or otherwise him and I would have at least been able to say goodbye to one another. And that really still tears at my heart, like most people don't understand. We did consider each other soulmates in those 4 years that we were together. So moving on to him passing away. He passes away, and I'm completely and utterly devastated. I couldn't believe that this happened. I couldn't believe it happened in such a short time after him and I broke up. But the kicker is, 4 days after he passes, this friend that I call Julie, this friend that I'd known for 25 years, who was like a sister to me, who I supported in everything in her life. When she was at her lowest, I was there for her daily. And she ends up calling a good friend of mine. Actually, she didn't call. She sent a message through Messenger. And she told this other friend of mine to tell me that Larry passed away 4 days ago. Can you imagine if I had found out that way? If I had not known? If I had not known that he was ill and he was dying? Imagine just finding out of nowhere, and someone, instead of making you aware that he's in bad shape and that maybe you could reach out, she just thinks that I don't know, and she tells another friend of mine. So she messages my friend. I'm going to call this friend Sarah. And Sarah was livid. She knew the whole story because she was the one that called Larry, and he had told her, oh, well, you know, she was cheating, so I will not talk to her. So he passed away without me being able to talk to him. I would have loved to go to his place and help him, to be with him, even though we weren't together. This poor guy not only was suffering and passed away from stage 4 cancer, he had people lying to him, emotionally hurting him, saying that the person that he had been in a relationship with and cared about was cheating on him and was still cheating on him. I was in this full-blown relationship, apparently. So the friend that got the message from Julie said, well, she knows that he was sick, and how dare you send a message 4 days after he passed away? What was your intention here? This is as hurtful as it gets. So again, this is a person that after 25 years had, let alone no respect for me, no love for me, no compassion. She always expected that for herself, even though she kept herself in certain situations. But again, you really have to think about who you're entertaining as friends. So although this video is about losing friends, it's also about becoming aware of who you consider friends. When we keep seeing red flags and we're not putting down boundaries, in the end, we're going to pay for it dearly. It might be 5, 10, 20 years down the road. I had other people point things out to me over the years. And again, it's not because I'm a nice person. I just wanted her as a friend because we did have a lot in common. We were there for each other. She, so okay, I'm just gonna ignore this red flag or the other red flag or what someone else tells me. This person, though, getting stabbed in my heart might feel about the same at the time. I couldn't believe that she betrayed me to the point that she waited till Larry died, thinking that I would not catch on. And what, was she just going to show up or phone me later and just say, oh yeah, I knew the whole time, but I couldn't be bothered to tell you, to give you the opportunity to go see him. So she really messed up bad. There's a friend asked me the other day, she said, do you think you would ever talk to Julie again? Do you think you could ever forgive Julie? And I said, I've forgiven many people in my life, and people have forgiven me for certain situations, but I could not see myself forgiving this person because he passed away. She knew she was taking the opportunity away from me, and she kept encouraging the rumors that she heard. And it's probably most likely because of her own marriage falling apart, but that really isn't even a good excuse, to be honest with you. So at the end of the day, you may lose people over time, and it's sad, especially when it's midlife. Now I still have other friends. I'm very grateful for them. They actually helped me through this mess, and I'm still grieving almost 5 years later. And I'm grieving. I wasn't just grieving for the death of a romantic partner, but also a best friend. So it happened at the same time. I was like a double whammy. I couldn't call her to when I was, you know, in the grips of grief. Luckily I had other friends, but I would have loved to talk to her. So I have a lot of regrets at the end of the day. I have regrets that I didn't know what was happening. Now, I don't know how I would have known anyways, but again, being in your midlife, in your 50s, and trusting certain people for, you know, 20 years and having these really deep relationships, and you just feel like, you know, you're going to have them till the end of your own life. But this person really showed me who she was. From what I hear, she's still in her marriage. She's still complaining about certain things. So at the end of the day, I lost a friend, but I was able to lean on other friends. And I know who my friends really are now, that's for sure, because I got really depressed after Larry had passed away and me not being able to reach out to him. There was also the issue of, you know, COVID at the time, and just not being able to get to him. He did not want me to get to him because of the rumors. So anyhow, that is my story on how I lost a really good friend who I thought was a good friend. And just to sort of recap, we tend to ignore red flags. We tend not to place boundaries down when we care about someone. We let them get away with things. So perhaps next time for me, if I see these things happening, I'm going to confront my friend and deal with it that way, and hopefully not have to go through this again with someone I really care about. Till this day, I would like to still talk to her, but I know I never will. I know I can't after what she did. She just took something away from me that she's never going to be able to replace. So anyhow, if you've been through this with a really good friend, ladies or guys, please share in the comments. Please like my video. I'd like to do more videos on midlife reflections and revelations. So please stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.